Welcome to a new episode of the Foyer Podcast. In this episode, we will talk about three principles that guide us in life and work. And these three principles are: the first one is openness, the second one is listening to the universe and following its synchronicities, and the third one is what we call the creator's mindset.
So the first one, openness, I think it's a way of being alive.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's for everyone, actually, because it really implies some effort
Yes.
and some risks. But we both share this mindset because I think that it brings abundance.
Mm-hmm.
And every time that we are connected to being open, we really see the flow of life. Whereas when we are maybe more closed or more to ourselves, you really can feel that the energy is different. You don't receive as much.
Yes, and I think since we created the fire, we've been in both kinds of energies. Last year was a very intense year work-wise, developing ideas and working inside.
Yeah.
And it was a very different energy because we were not that much out there sharing what we were doing, and it did also change a little bit the state we were in.
Yeah.
But it's crazy, and we've talked about this many times, how much energy shifts when you put yourself out there and you open up and you are open to receive opportunities and to meet people. It's an instant shift, literally.
Yeah, actually, it's like if you expose yourself with your truth, it like signals courage, and then you just receive something that it's like vibing in the same frequency, let's say. And I'm not saying like in a magic way or anything, it's just like how life flows. And so for us, we are always very open, both of us, I think, to what may come and what pops up and opportunities that just appear. Some are obvious, some are not. Sometimes they come in the shape of challenges, or sometimes you just have to knock on a door to know if it's really closed or if it just swings open.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, at least for me, I've always been trying to find my way in everything that I do. And for that reason, probably since I was trying to develop my own ideas and projects since a very young age, if I wasn't open and ready to approach, maybe I would have gotten nothing at all.
Hmm. I think that there's two concepts that are very linked to openness, which are curiosity. If you stay curious in every single way, you are somehow open to new knowledge, new people, new opportunities.
Right.
And the other one is flexibility.
Okay.
Um, for me, I think that I've always been very open socially wise. So I've always loved to meet all different kinds of people and mingle with different kinds of people. But in my case, for instance, I wasn't that open to whatever life could bring me.
Okay.
So I was more, I don't know, I had a life sort of created that I thought was where I was meant to be. And at that stage, I don't think I was that open to maybe possibilities that were completely out of that life I had created for myself. And then that is also the reason why I think the minute I opened the door literally to other possibilities, my life changed so much because I questioned like what I was doing work-wise, or maybe the person I was with romantically, and where I was living. And I do think that having flexibility and allowing that possibility and spur of possibility into your life is what changes everything.
Yeah, I think that if you are open, your life can expand.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, this sense of expansion, it's an everyday choice. Like you can wake up and just tell yourself, okay, I have no idea what's going to happen today, and I'm open to that, and I am willing to explore every bit of possibility. Or you can be a bit more scared, or maybe more strict, or maybe, I don't know, maybe it's not like your comfort zone, exploring all the time these possibilities. But I do believe that if you are ready to be surprised, life definitely gets the call and surprises you. And for us, it's been like this with the foyer.
Yes. And even in the way we work, like approaching a project, I think that if you are very fixed about what you want to do or where you want to get, there's so many things that can arrive throughout the project that you may miss on the way because you're so focused on what you were meant to do or where you wanted to get, that possibly you're missing opportunities. And I think that this is something we worked on from the very beginning, because we were very clear about the methodology that we wanted to apply to our work. But then again, we were very open, and we never wanted to standardize the kind of projects that we do for clients, for instance. And also, we didn't want to adapt everything inside the foyer to something that already existed. But we were very much open to find new ways of working and find new ways of approaching projects. And I think that is super enriching when it comes to the professional perspective as well.
Yeah, because when you are like pivoting, it's like if you were traveling and you can either stop in the next, station and be like, okay, I know where I am, this was my destination, but what if you miss a stop and then you get to a better place? I think that's an image that can help, because there's always another step if you get a bit further. It's a choice that one can make, like either I feel like exploring or I feel like stopping here.
Yeah.
And then it comes the second point that you were talking about, synchronicities. Because I think it's super linked. Like if you are not able to, I don't know, let the magic happen, and if you're not in a growth mindset of everything is not detailed yet, I don't know the ending, this is not a result, this is still an ongoing process, synchronicities start to happen, and you start feeling that you are maybe not in the right path, because that would be a judgment, but you're aligned with your decisions, with yourself, and with the energy that's flowing around you.
Yeah, potentially with your destiny.
Yeah.
I think this is something that I kind of got more from you. So I didn't used to live that much by reading the signs of the universe, but I think it's also because depending on the kind of professional path you take, you can also be more or less aligned with your feelings and with your desires and with who you are and so on. And for instance, I studied law and I was a lawyer and I was working in a big law firm, and then I was never taught to be in touch with my emotions that much, or with any other kind of non-empirical situation in the world. Whereas you had all this training on dramatic arts and all of these things, which you used to train a lot how to connect with this more like vulnerable and sensual side of you, I guess.
But I don't know if it comes from that. Like for me, it comes from a younger age.
Okay.
In which I felt I was very close to my senses and my own intuition, but I was very young and I was not able to understand what my own life was telling me.
Okay.
And so from that need of really understanding what was going on around me, I think I developed this sensitivity. And maybe that's why later on in life I chose a more creative path. And obviously when I studied performing arts and with all the voice coaching and body coaching and obviously like acting, you are more in touch with the context. But I think it, for me at least, I think it's something that I got when I was a child.
Makes sense. It's a way of being. I feel like I learned to move around the world in a very opposite way. So, very much like probably result oriented or success oriented in a narrow sense of success.
Yeah.
But I was not that much in touch with all of these feelings. And I feel that the more I got to know myself and the more aligned I have come to be with who I am, what I want, what I truly desire, and being able to really get a perspective of where I am at every moment and whether I'm taking the right path or not for me. This has given me the chance or the ability to be much more connected with this side of receiving signs from the universe. And now I really do feel
I know.
now I really do feel that this is happening, and also I am willing to take them into account because it's been working for me.
And you get them for free.
Exactly.
I mean,
And they work. I mean, they've given me very interesting lessons since I've been receiving them. And then I sort of get used to it and I like it, and then I'm more into it.
I think these are all like forces and informations from the outside world that can either mean nothing to you and just use them as, I don't know, something that you read or, I don't know, whatever, or they can become part of your journey and be like, hey, this might have happened for a reason. What if I pull the string and something comes after? And I don't know, if you keep doing that, you realize that there's like two circles. One is the circle of facts, and then there's another circle that is the circle of synchronicities. And if you are able to put them both more or less parallel together, for me it's when you are flowing. And that state is just so wonderful.
Yes. And I feel like that's the state we're in at the moment.
Yeah.
There's so many synchronicities that are happening to us lately. Like, for instance, and I think this goes back to a year ago, which is probably when the universe started telling us in a way like, you're going the right path. And it's not going to be easy because you're doing something that's very different, that won't be easy to understand, that requires a lot of work. But then we start receiving all these signs. And I remember it was the 2nd of January, 2025. And we went to watch Partenope, the movie by Sorrentino. And we went out of the cinema and we were like, wow, we loved the movie. It's so inspiring. There's so much beauty in it. And we were like, okay, so for the purpose of creating everything that we have to create now, let's go work from somewhere else. And we went to the National Library, where we had never been before. And that was a synchronic, magical experience that we had when we went there for the first time.
Also because it was like the 2nd of January and we chose to do things differently and we activated that path. So we left the cinema, we went to the National Library in Madrid, and the security guard was there, and then we started asking him like so many questions about everything. And he was kind of like laughing, and I thought, well, he's laughing at us because he's thinking that we are like
Lost.
or we don't know like what we want. And so when we got, you know, our entrances and so on, he came to us and he was like, hey guys, could I talk to you for a second? We were like, yeah. And he said, I was laughing and I was smiling because you asked me so many interesting questions, and for this past year nobody asked me anything, and so you made my day. And we were like, oh wow, my god, this is like, check, you're in the right place.
Yes.
Keep walking.
Yeah. And he actually told us like, oh, so what are you doing? What do you work as? And we told him, and he was like, so you have to go to this specific place inside the library to find like the kind of books that you may be interested in. And if we had never talked to him, we would have never known that. But the thing is, we got into that, I don't know how you call it, like saloon or...
Yeah, room.
Well, yeah, that room of the library. And then we were going around the books. And then another man, a librarian, came to us with a book on his hand. And he said, girls, I think this is the book you are searching for. And we were like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And then we went through the book, and it was mind-blowing for us. It gave us so many ideas, and then that led us to another person that we've been working with for a very special project that will come up very soon. But if we had never been open to go to the library and talk to these people, this would have never happened. And probably if we had never linked all these synchronicities that happened at that point, we wouldn't be working with these people for this other project that we are doing now.
But also, like, you could live this experience, as in, I went to the library on a Tuesday, or it was 2nd of January. We knew we wanted to make things different this year. We went to the cinema. We got inspired. We spoke about what inspired us in that specific movie, in those specific characters, about that director that we admire. Let's do things differently. We started to walk, and while walking we said, let's go to the library. We got there. Everything happened there. And from that moment on, we felt so different throughout the whole year. So this is a way of also reading our openness and the synchronicities, because it could have happened and the value could be 0, or it could be like really worthy for us, as it is.
Yeah, reading and writing. I mean, what you just did is create a narrative about everything that we were going through at that point, that we wanted, what happened to us. And that has a lot to do with the third principle that we stand by, which is the creator's mindset. And it has to do with creating for yourself whatever opportunities and possibilities you want to attract. And that's all about creating your own narrative in a way.
Yeah, this morning when we were talking about this episode of the podcast, I was telling you that for me there's this fight between these two concepts. Creator's mindset versus victim of your own destiny. For me, there's two kinds of people in the world.
I love everything that starts like this. Like, there's two kinds of people
I
in the
agree.
world.
So for me, there's a type of person who has a creator mindset. And then there's this other type of person who's more like, oh, I'm a victim of my own destiny and things happen to me and I have no will and I'm a victim, and these are all, excuses and complaints. And it comes from fear. Or you can have an active role in your own life and create. It doesn't have to do with creativity. It has to do with knowing what you want to achieve, trying to understand who you are and being honest to that, and just creating scenarios for yourself.
Favorable to yourself. And I don't think that is against, that doesn't mean you have to suppress your emotions or avoid being sad, or there are situations in your life which are definitely very hard and you need to go through them.
Of course.
But there's always a better perspective towards everything that happens to you. You can either just become, as you were saying, a victim of that, or just find new ways and perspectives to envision everything that has happened and then find areas of improvement. Or just like synchronicities, reading what the universe is trying to tell you and what things you may need to focus on, because when something happens to you, sometimes, very often, it has to do with how you've been acting and what your position in the world has been. So there's probably something you can do about it and create for yourself.
Yeah.
That's, I think, also part of this creator's mindset.
I was thinking that, for example, there's this term in art which is pentimento.
Mm-hmm.
That when you could scratch and see what's behind the picture or the painting that you're seeing, there's something older, something that was created before. But if you never like scratch a little and look for, this string that you can keep pulling,
Mm-hmm.
you're not gonna discover anything else. And so, as you were saying, for me, in every single situation in life,
Mm-hmm.
there's like the perspective of what's happening,
Mm-hmm.
but then you can create other points of view. And this is probably a thing that we script writers do, to understand like what could happen in every character's mind in every situation,
Mm-hmm.
see what works best for the conflict. But as a person, it's really helpful.
Mm-hmm.
It always can also create obsession, which that is not the best part of it. Um, but it's true that if you are able to see yourself and your circumstances in different perspectives, you are creating new possibilities for yourself along the way.
I agree. And I think it has to do with principle one, which was openness. Like, you also need to be open to embracing new perspectives, which may not be the obvious one. You need to, for your creator's mindset, you need to be open to criticism. You need to be humble enough to understand that you have some sort of power in your life, and therefore things that happen to you somehow not don't happen to you. You create them, and therefore you have some responsibility towards them. And I think that's not always easy. Not always easy to see either, because I think that there's certain situations in which it's easier to get in this position, and then others which may be harder. But definitely, I think that if you want to grow in your life and you want to become a better person, you do need to embrace this mindset, because otherwise you're stuck in the same position and in the same way of being basically forever.
And also, like in tough moments, or moments in which you are suffering a lot for whatever reason, if you are able to create a mindset that somehow helps you heal or just keep going, that's a force that we have. Obviously, there are moments that it's much more difficult to pull that force out. But I do believe that is a human power.
Yeah. And even in work, like as business women and as entrepreneurs, there's so many times when we have faced a wall.
Yeah.
So many different kinds of walls. Mm-hmm. And I feel that if you don't have this creator mindset, then when you reach that wall, it kind of feels like that's the end of the road for you as a business person or as an entrepreneur. Whereas if you are able to take that mindset and create a new opportunity, or like sort of surpass that wall in an unexpected way, there's another opportunity waiting for you behind it. But otherwise, you just like find yourself completely limited, and then you can't go any further.
Yeah, it's like instead of being tricked by the circumstances, you create tricks to get over those circumstances. And what I was gonna say is that, as you know, a concept that I really like is the concept of undetected ideas, which is like a little, I think undetected ideas are gadgets that we intangibly carry with us.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, I don't know, you have a challenge at work,
okay,
and you don't know how to face it. You're feeling anxious. You feel blocked. You feel like insecure.
Mm-hmm.
You have to like close your eyes for a second and try to picture in your head undetected ideas that you're not having. Mm-hmm. Like, how can I surpass this circumstance? Who could help me see it in a different way? What am I feeling? What if this was a movie? What if I was a man? What if I was 75 years old? These are all undetected ideas. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden you have this landscape of possibilities. You are alone, mm-hmm. only here, just trying to picture everything, but you are not where you were.
Mm-hmm.
You've traveled a bit further. Why are you laughing?
No, because I think that this is a very creator mindset kind of situation.
Approach.
But very much linked to your professional perspective. Like someone who is not used to creating like plots and characters probably has never thought of having this kind of approach to a situation. But for me, it's been like, for instance, I really like reading, and then sometimes I tend to think like how a character that from a book that I read would react or whatever. But then in your case, because you're obviously normally in the side of the creator, then you create yourself. So now I was just like in my mind thinking about that.
Yeah, I do think that these 3 principles are like ingredients to create a more fun and sexy and easy and attractive life.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not the obvious, and we always speak about the unseen, the unexpected, the forgotten, and this is all information that it's gathered like in places, and if you are always in your reality and just seeing what's in front of you and just obsessing with this problem that you have or a positive thing, you're only gonna live in that framework.
Eagle
eye, exactly.
Eagle eye versus hawkeye. Like if you look at things like very closely, you're limited to that area of vision, whereas if you gain perspective, then you can see a lot more around it, and that's probably a much more enriching vision because you take into account the context, as you were saying before.
It is risky.
Why?
I think it's risky because you are creating scenarios that no one has validated, that you don't know, so you don't know where they are going to take you.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Like, I do feel that living by these principles is sort of
opening a door.
Yes, always putting you in a position to reevaluate whether you are where you want to be in so many different areas of your life. So there's always a possibility that there's something you may see that you want to change, and that opens a path.
But that's how we really live.
Yes.
But humans have to evolve, right? So it's tricky, but at the same time, it's very natural to us people, I guess. And I don't know, the 2 of us, we always speak about this, like, how much have we changed in a month, in a week, maybe not in 24 hours, which could also happen, which has happened in the past and in the recent.
I mean, you always tell me sometimes you're like, you grew overnight. Like sometimes it's the morning we're having breakfast and then suddenly Marta is like, I feel it. You grew overnight. You're not the same person you were yesterday.
Because you are my younger sister, and sometimes I'm like so proud of you that, I don't know. I remember one day that we were in Paris. We were having breakfast in the hotel, and I saw her that she was different, and I thought, oh my God, she's older. All of a sudden, like overnight, she grew, and I'm so proud of her and everything that she has learned and achieved in life. But you told me that you also felt it.
No, I have to say that every time you've said it, I thought it was true. Like growth happens. To me, it happens slowly and all at once.
I agree.
It's something that it grows on me, and then suddenly one day I'm like, realization, boom, and I'm somewhere else. And these days that you tell me this, it's the kind of days when I have had a realization or when I've had a click inside of me, and I have agreed with you.
I would say that these 3 principles lead to clicks.
Yeah.
If you're open, you're clicking. If there are synchronicities, you're clicking. And if you are creating, clicks happen all the time.
Yes.
So maybe we are talking about the click principles.
The click principles. I like that. The 3 click principles.
So this is our third episode,
Yes.
which was very based on conversations that we have every morning.
Yes, and especially now that it's the beginning of the year.
Exactly. And we would love to know if you have any principles that you stand for, if you feel the same, if you want to comment on anything that we've said.
If you agree or not.
And we hope to see you here next week.
Yeah, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel to not miss the next episodes.
Thank you.
Thank you.